Hey toy collectors, welcome to another super exciting, outrageous toy review. Today, my buddy Nick and I are here to talk about two G.I. Joe documents recently released by Kirk Bozigian. If you're not familiar with Kirk, he was the brand manager on G.I. Joe off and on through the A Real American Hero run. He started out in 82, I think through 84, then he left to do Hot Wheels or some other brand for a little bit, and then was brought back. And so he saw the beginning of the line, the end of the line, a little bit in the middle. And he recently revealed some really cool documents that explain how well G.I. Joe vehicles sold. And so one of the lists he put out was the top 25 most produced toys. So the top of this thing says, this chart reflects the unit sales of the top 25 G.I. Joe and Cobra items from 1982 to 1989. It can be used to see what themes and styles have been successful in the past. So the number one most produced toy was Zartan and the Chameleon, which is a little tiny vehicle. It comes with a figure. And then it moves on through the G.I. Joe Ram motorcycle, the Vamp Jeep, Serpentor and his air chariot, the G.I. Joe Dragonfly helicopter, the battlefield accessories, the G.I. Joe Sky Striker, the Cobra Fang, the G.I. Joe Mombat, the Ski-Mobile, or the Battle Bear as most people know it, the Snowcat, the Devilfish, the Triple T, the Battlefield vehicles, Cobra Thunder Machine, the Water Moccasin, the Havoc, Zanzibar and his air skiff, the Conquest X-30, the Cobra Hiss, the Skyhawk, the Silver Mirage motorcycle, the Wolf, the Stun, and the Night Raven. So that's a lot to take in there. Do you notice anything significant about these vehicles? Anything pop out at you as trends and things like that?
They come with drivers.
Yeah, so a lot of the top selling things, in fact I counted it up, 17 of them came with unique figures. So definitely including a driver seems to help.
Sarge with the Triple T, Serpentor with his air chariot, Zartan with his swamp skier, Cross Country with the Havoc,
Wild Bill, Stratus Viper,
yeah,
Ice Viper. So the other thing that I kind of notice within that, having a driver is important, it seems, but also if you have a important character, you can just sell the vehicle as like a deluxe figure. Like, nobody's buying Serpentor because they think the air chariot's cool. They want Serpentor, in my opinion.
yeah.
Same thing happened with Zartan. I don't think kids were dying to have the Chameleon. They were dying to have Zartan. He had a commercial, he had comic book appearances, he was a huge role in the cartoon show. Sergeant Slaughter is the same kind of thing. He was a mail-away figure, and then he came with the Triple T. Like, I think that you were buying that for that figure. More so than, like, the Snowcat. People were glad it came with a driver, but people weren't like, oh, I have to have Frostbite,
yeah.
you know? So I think that kind of balances out somewhat in there. But I think this list is very interesting, because I would have never guessed that Zartan would be the most produced.
It has to be the price
vehicle.
point.
It has to be the price point. So that's the next thing that I kind of noticed. Small vehicles. Zartan is number one. Number two is the Ram motorcycle, very small. The battlefield accessories, those were very
early
tiny.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, those are all very tiny sets. The Snowmobile is small. The Devilfish is tiny. What else is small?
The Fang's small.
The Fang, the Skyhawk. Yeah, so those smaller vehicles, that low price point, and it makes sense because kids can save up enough allowance to buy that.
And I was also just thinking, back when G.I. Joe was big, everyone sold G.I. Joe. Pharmacies, little tiny general stores. So this little stuff was more likely that mom and pop stores would order, give me, some of the small stuff. They're not getting a Night Raven.
Right.
They're not getting a Havoc. The box is this big just for the Havoc, and the vehicle's only that big. Can you imagine what the box for the Night Raven is? So, again, everyone was ordering stuff, so I can see Zartan, them, little mom and pop store going, yeah, let's get some G.I. Joe, as long as it's the small stuff.
Right.
So I'm sure that had a lot to do with the shelf space, too, for certain places.
I know with my experience with G.I. Joe, like, I would spend my allowance to get figures a lot. Smaller vehicles a lot of times would come as a gift at a birthday party. somebody's giving you something a little bit bigger than a
like
figure.
like your friends
would give
for
you
your
like
party.
the low crawl
Yeah.
vehicle, the devilfish, that kind of thing, and then like your really close family members, like your parents, your grandparents, would get you like the tomahawk or the night raven or something,
spend the money
because they spend the money
Yeah.
to get you a really big present. So this frame is a bunch of different vehicle boxes. I found a lot one time of like crunched up boxes, so I didn't destroy beautiful boxes. And I actually have one spot still open. I need to find another crunched up box. But some of these are, although they're all pretty much small vehicles that sold well, a lot of these things are on that list. We have Serpentor and Zanzibar that were specifically on the list. We have some of the battlefield accessories like the bunker and the watchtower. We have the Silver Mirage that made the list.
The claw.
So
And the ferret.
yeah, the claw and the ferret didn't make the list. The low crawl, recon sled didn't make the list either. But they're in that wheelhouse where when Hasbro knew the Ram did well, is that why they made the low crawl? Is that why they made the Silver Mirage? Like, we need another motorcycle type vehicle.
Yeah.
We need to make Overlord's Dictator and Destro's Despoiler because Serpentor and Zartan and Sergeant Slaughter sold well. That really gets you thinking about these different brand decisions that they made over the years.
And he didn't cut much of them off, so you can see that the size of the box just wasn't.
A lot of them, it's just basically the G.I. Joe logo
Yeah.
or whatever is missing on these.
Yeah. So you can see that it really didn't take up a whole lot of shelf space, for a little mom and pop store. This one stood up like this. That is a tall one, but the rest of them, they're like this. And they're real narrow. They're real narrow.
So the second list that Kirk published, it says, this chart is much different than the previous one. This indicates the dollar volume generated for the top 25 G.I. Joe items from 1982 to 1989. It can also be used to see what themes and styles have been successful in the past and how they might be redone in the future. So, for instance, if you sell a whole bunch of Zartans at $5 a piece, you're not going to make as much money as selling less Night Ravens at $50 a piece. So, you'll notice this list, some of the items are sort of inverted. Things that were high on the other list but were cheap have fallen to the bottom. And some very expensive items that didn't make it on the other list or that were at the bottom of the other list have shifted up to some degree. So so just kind of keep that in mind as we go through the list. So this time, the number one by dollar volume sale was the Sky Striker, followed by the Mobat, the Night Raven, the Hovercraft, the Dragonfly, which actually was very high on both lists, interestingly enough, the Tomahawk, the Conquest, the Hydrofoil, the Vamp Jeep, which was number 2 on the other list, dropped to number 9, but it's a mid-tier vehicle, the Rattler, the Havoc, the Mamba, which didn't make the other list, the Mobile Command Center, Snowcat, the Personnel Carrier, the Stealth Fighter, the Rolling Thunder, Sergeant Slaughter's Triple T, the Thunder Machine, Zartan, comes in at number 20, the Water Moccasin, Serpentor at 22, the Cobra Wolf at 23, the Bridge Layer, and finally the Hiss at number 25. So definitely you can see on this list those bigger price points. The Sky Striker was one of the most expensive vehicles, other than maybe the base, that first,
Yeah,
like
because
an
we have
83.
a lot of big stuff here. Sky Striker's big. The Tomahawk's big. The Mobile Command Center's big. Huge. The X-19.
Yep.
That's big. The Rolling Thunder's big.
Yep.
So, I mean, we're talking...
Those were high price point items.
High
The Hovercraft
price,
is a big box.
Yeah.
The Tomahawk and the Mamba were pretty big for their years. I do notice that the Mobile Command Center is the only, like, play set on here, and I wonder if that got classified as a vehicle because it had wheels.
You could technically push it.
Yeah, so I would love to know how the 83 base did, how the Flag did, the Defiant. Were they not included on this list because they got lumped into a playset document somewhere at Hasbro? Did they just not sell as well as we think? Or, maybe they didn't make enough flags to have it make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Who knows? But those are things that my brain went to right away. So now going back to Kurt's statement on here, he says, how might these be redone for the future? Is there anything you notice about this list?
Well, a lot of it they did reuse for different sublines.
They reused a ton of things on this list for sublines. I think I counted, it was 16 of the 25 items got reissued. And for an example, I have the Sky Raven here with the Night Raven. So the Night Raven got reissued for Sky Patrol. But we know the Havoc got reissued for Sky Patrol. The Devilfish was a Tiger Force vehicle. Sergeant Slaughter's Triple T became a Night Force vehicle. So a lot of these things got reissued. The Sky Striker was reissued. The Mobat was a Sears exclusive in a different color. The Night Raven was reissued. The Hovercraft was reissued. The Dragonfly was reissued. Surprisingly, number 6, the Tomahawk, was not reissued. The Conquest was redone for Python Patrol. The Hydrofoil was Night Force. The Vamp Jeep got slightly tweaked and became a Cobra Jeep. It became another version of a G.I. Joe Jeep. It became Tiger Force. It got mail-away variants. All kinds of crazy stuff happened with the Vamp. The Rattler became Tiger Force. The Havoc became Sky Force. Mamba did not get redone. But imagine that thing in a Python Patrol color scheme. It would have looked great. Mobile Command Center did not get reissued in the original line, but did get a 2000s reissue.
Correct.
It's the only one of those playsets, really, that got reissued, right? Did the 92 base get reissued at some point? Just as like a Street Fighter thing.
Street Fighter, but that was...
Which was almost immediately,
Yeah.
like right after it went off the shelves, it was a Street Fighter thing. So it is interesting that, like, we all as fans would love to see a new flag. We would love to see a new, Defiant, right? Like, these are like wish list type things for Hasbro. But which base actually, as far as we can tell, you know, we're not sure how things got qualified for lists, but the Mobile Command Center was one of the few things it seems that have made a lot of money, so that it did get reissued in the 2000s.
Yeah.
It cost money to find these molds or fix the molds, reissue molds. And a lot of these vehicles also were things that got reissued or remolded for the 25th anniversary and 50th anniversary line.
Correct.
Things like the Conquest and the Moccasin and the Wolf and the Hiss. Like, we saw those things reissued again and again because they are like guaranteed moneymakers for Hasbro, it appears, by looking at these lists.
And look at this list again. There's only one vehicle on this list that does not come with a driver.
Really?
Every single one of them except for one came with a driver, and it's the APC.
Wow, I didn't... So I've looked at these lists, like, for the couple days I've been thinking about this video. Like, my brain has had a hard time not thinking of this. That's something I did not notice before. That is
Every
actually
single
really
one,
cool.
except for the APC came with a driver.
APC on this one had it. Yeah, that is crazy.
You know?
Wow.
It has to be the price point. Little Jimmy,
Yeah.
he's looking for something. He sees the, he sees the Dragonfly. He says, "Mommy, can I get the Dragonfly?" Let's just say it's $40 back then. Well, now he could sell it to his mom that, look, it comes with Wild Bill. You're getting two things in one
I
now.
think those figures were a really big selling point to kids.
Yeah.
I love the drivers. I actually put a whole bunch of drivers out in front of the Havoc in the front there. Some of them are from vehicles that made the list, some of them are not. But I always thought those things were a really big selling point of these vehicles.
Yeah.
I used to look for vehicle drivers to vehicles I didn't have at like yard sales when I was a kid because I just wanted to get all the characters. And is there... okay, so here's another question. Right? Was there ever a vehicle you bought specifically because of the driver?
No.
No?
No.
Because I feel like the Warthog, I asked for that for my birthday because I love Sergeant Slaughter so much. And I already had the original Sergeant
And
Slaughter.
thinking back on the cartoon, they didn't truly focus on who drove what.
Right.
For
most of the stuff.
things.
Most of the stuff they didn't.
We knew that Cross Country drove the Havoc.
Havoc.
We know that. Okay? Anybody in the first season flew the Dragonfly. Same with the Sky Striker.
Yep.
Ace hardly saw Ace fly the Sky Striker, but everybody knew how to fly the Sky Striker. So, again, I came into G.I. Joe later. I didn't really care who drove it.
Yeah.
Anyone could drive it, because just looking at the cartoon, anyone could drive it.
Right.
So, I mean, but that doesn't mean little Jimmy didn't want the Triple T because Sergeant Slaughter had it. So, and again, that's the only way. If you wanted Sergeant Slaughter, you had to get the Triple T. So that was another good marketing.
And I remember when a lot of this stuff got reissued for Night Force, where there were no drivers.
No drivers.
We were all like, how come there's no Cutter? How come there's no Ace? They're the guys that know how to drive this thing. Whereas, like in Tiger Force,
they came with
some of the stuff, some of the bigger things came with drivers, even if it was Recondo disguised as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a kid, we were really into that with some of the vehicles. Now, like stuff like the Vamp, it didn't have to be clutch because it's just like a regular vehicle.
Yeah, and anybody drove the Vamp.
The sophisticated stuff, we always were like, oh yeah, so and so's vehicle. That's the guy that knows how to drive that one.
Yeah.
So, I think that it is so cool that Kirk put out these lists. I would love to see figure lists like this that say which figures sold well. It blows my mind. that they have this. I mean, of course they have this data. They're a marketing company, but to see it all these years later and to notice all these little trends. Nick and I were also talking about mail away stuff. Out of all these things, the hovercraft got a mail away release, the Vamp got a mail away release, the Snowcat, the APC, the Triple T, the Wolf, and the Hiss. They were all mail away vehicles. I don't know whether the mail away sales were added into this or that was just an addition. Maybe they became mail aways because they saw they were popular items.
Could have just been that they were trying to get rid of the stuff.
Could be that they were trying to get rid of the stuff. A lot of them are small vehicles or compact vehicles, which made it easy to ship.
Yeah.
I'm almost amazed that the hovercraft was a mail away thing because it is kind of a bulky thing. But it makes sense that the Ferret and a lot of those little vehicles were mail away things because it was so easy to pack. Shipping would be cheap.
Triple T was a mail away.
Yep.
The Vamp was a Sears exclusive. It was so massive GI Joe back then that what we do now, how we collect, didn't what we do back then. We bought stuff or got stuff because it was on the cartoon. We couldn't look on the internet and say, well, I'm missing the Night Raven. It's like, well, I got to go to the store, or I see it on the cartoon that I just saw after school. And it's like, okay, well, now I need a Night Raven. And again, it's a great marketing ploy.
Yep.
But other than the backs of the card backs, the vehicles didn't show you anything other than what the vehicle was. But the card backs for the figures, they would show what's
all the other
characters. So when we go to shows, when we pick up stuff, you'll see on the back of certain full card backs, little Jimmy crossed out the figures that person got. That's great. But it's the only way that we did it back then.
The other thing I was thinking about, and I haven't cross-referenced it, I didn't go through to figure it out, but it would be interesting to look at which of these items had their own commercials. Because, we know Zartan, the most produced thing, had a commercial all about him.
Triple T did.
Triple T. The Havoc. The Night Raven had one. The Tomahawk had one.
Yeah.
But I did notice that, the Wolverine had his own commercial. Didn't make the list. Would Hasbro say it's because it came with the Girl Driver? Don't know.
What also sold well is how much it was in the cartoon as well. I'm thinking,
Sure.
I'm looking, okay, well, when Sergeant Slaughter came along, the Triple T was in a bunch. The Dragonfly, of course, was in all the beginning episodes. The Sky Striker was all in the episodes. The Ram was in the beginning a little bit. The Havoc definitely in '86. They definitely shoved that in there. So, I mean, you didn't really see the Mobat at all.
Not much.
You saw the Mauler. There was even an episode.
Yeah, the Mauler got used quite a bit.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, that's how we purchased or wanted things. You saw it on a cartoon, and you would hope and pray that, hey, they made this toy.
It just gets your brain churning. How did they do this stuff? How did they figure it out? And I'm dying to know, because we said that a lot of these vehicles got reissued for the sub-teams. Were the guys on the sub-teams the most popular selling toys? Was Tripwire, a huge figure? Is that why he was on Tiger Force? I never could figure out as a kid who got picked for those teams.
Yeah.
And now I'm totally wondering. The Shark is not on either one of these lists, but it made it in Sky Patrol and Night Force. Was that just sheer luck the mold was laying around?
It has to be that.
Or was it just off the list? Is it really number 26 on both lists? And they're like, oh, that did well, we'll put that back out.
Could be the price point again.
Could be the price point. It's just the another vehicle in that right size to sell.
Toys R Us for Night Force said, okay, we need such and such at this price, such and such at that price. Okay, well, we can do it for this, and it just makes you think. It's like every time you talk about something, there's something else that you
something
think
else
about.
pops up. Well, if you guys think of your own analysis of this stuff, make sure you leave a comment down below what you're thinking about. If you want to see the actual documents we're looking at in here, Kirk Bozigian put them out on Facebook. You can find them on his page, or you can find them on a lot of the Joe groups, like Declassified and people. Hooded Cobra Commander. A lot of people have been kind of reposting them. But check them out. Let us know what you think down below, and thanks for watching.